Hello there guys, I'm quite sure that you guys know what Valentine's Day is. And if you guys know what Valentine's Day is, chances are you guys also know who Cupid is. You guys may know who Cupid is, but do you guys know who his wife is? Well, I think this is the time that I tell you the story about how Cupid met his beloved. And trust me guys, it's not just a boring story. It's one full of romance, heartache, and possibly perseverance, and in the end, romance and victory against all odds.
Once upon a time, there was a king who had 3 lovely daughters. Among these daughters, the youngest and the most beautiful was Psyche. She was so beautiful that people neglected Venus and worshipped and gave offerings to her instead. Venus was enraged by this blasphemy, so she enlisted the help of her son Cupid to make the maiden Psyche fall in love with a hideous creature. While trying to carry this out, Cupid accidentally scraped himself with one of his arrows, which made him fall in love with a lovely maiden. Madly in love, he disobeyed his mother and made the maiden fall for him instead. Years later, the king, Psyche's father, sensed that Psyche may have incurred the wrath of the gods, since she was still single and uncourted, despite her beauty, while her 2 sisters were happily married. They then consulted the oracle of Apollo to confirm if she has offended the gods. The oracle gave them a disturbing prophecy. Psyche would marry a hideous monster and bear a monstrous dragon-like offspring which would threaten even the gods. Due to her parents' despair and acceptance of the prophecy, they made her wear funeral attire and perform a ceremony on her combining funeral rites and marriage rites. She was then left on a cliff where Zephyr takes her away to her fated husband and lays her down on a grassy field where she falls asleep. When she wakes up, she explores her surroundings and discovers a very elegant mansion. While she steps inside, a sourceless voice tells her to make herself comfortable. She is then entertained by a feast that serves itself accompanied by an invisible lyre playing. After the feast, she allowed herself to be led into a bedroom where a figure hiding in the darkness made love to her. She adjusts to her new lifestyle in the mansion, where her husband leaves during the day and returns during the night. He makes love to her while concealing his identity and leaves before sunrise. Psyche eventually becomes pregnant.
Her parents and sisters expressed their longing to see her again and find about her current condition, so Psyche asked permission from her husband so that her family could visit. He grants this permission. Her parents become relieved while her sisters grew envious. They persuaded Psyche to try and violate her husband's wish of privacy with a plot. When her family leaves, one night, she carries out her sister's suggestions. She hid a dagger and a lamp before her husband arrived. They made love as usual, and her husband slept. She grabbed the lamp and pulled the blankets with the dagger on her hand to slay the hideous beast. She then finds out his husband to be one of the most beautiful creatures in the world, Cupid. In her surprise, she accidentally wakes him up. He flew away when his identity was discovered. She tried to follow her, but it was in vain because she had no wings. She then wanders the earth looking for her lost love. She ends up telling her envious sisters about what occurred. These sisters then tried to jump onto Zephyr so that he could carry them away to be Cupid's wife. Zephyr rejected them and they fell to their deaths. In her journey, she asked for help from two temples, one of Ceres and the latter of Juno. Serving these temples made the goddesses acknowledge her faith and devotion, yet they could not help her against another goddess. Psyche then realized that she needed to serve Venus herself. When she first came to Venus, she was immediately turned over to Venus's handmaids, beaten and tortured.
Venus then gave her a trial. She scattered huge amounts of mixed wheat, barley, poppy seed, chickpeas, lentils, and beans, and she ordered Psyche to sort them all by dawn. An ant takes pity on her and enlists the help of his fellow ants to help Psyche accomplish this task. Venus was not convinced and gave her a second trial. She was to cross a river and collect golden fleece from a group of violent sheep. A river god then appears in the form of a reed in the river and guides Psyche in safely accomplishing this task. Venus was still not amused, so she gave Psyche a crystal-like container and made her collect black water from the source of the river Styx in Cocytus. Dragons prevented her from accomplishing this until Jupiter intervened out of pity by sending eagles to fight off the dragons and get the water for her. Finally, Venus makes Psyche take a box, retrieve beauty from Proserpina in the underworld to place in the box, and deliver it back to Venus without opening it. She falls into despair and tries to jump off a tower, until the tower itself became alive and told her the exact location of the entrance to the underworld, and what to do so that she can safely carry out her task. This included bringing cakes to keep the hellhound Cerberus busy, and corn for transit via the ferryman Charon. Proserpina then places some of her beauty into the box, and Psyche was on her way back. Along the way, the temptation to open the box was too strong, and she did. Instead of beauty, she found infernal sleep as she immediately fell into a seemingly permanent state of slumber.
Cupid finds the sleeping Psyche, tries to remove the sleep inflicted on her, and takes her and the box to present to Jupiter. He pleads his case and gets approval from Jupiter. Jupiter then calls an assembly of the gods to inform them of his decisions. First, that Venus should stop interfering between Psyche and Cupid, and second, he would make Psyche immortal by making her consume ambrosia. In the end, after getting immortality, Psyche gets married to her lover Cupid. This marriage resulted in a daughter named Voluptas, and they lived happily ever after.